Hello, and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're going to be talking about some Zack Snyder news that came from the Vanity Fair article. It was one of the things that I didn't mention. I've done a series of videos now in the playlist, which you should be able to see to your right, about Zack Snyder's about the Vanity Fair article and Zack Snyder. But there was one last thing that we should discuss, which was something that is supposed to blow our minds. So one beautiful thing about another thing that Zack Snyder is paying tribute to with his daughter Autumn is that he's going to have Hallelujah performed by Alison Crowe, a friend of his, who sang it at the funeral at the end of the Justice League movie, which is very, very beautiful. And I don't know that I'll be able to sit through that without crying. But it also says here that he has reshot the ending with a hero cameo that will blow hardcore fans' minds. And everyone is wondering who this hero could be. Now, to me, I'm like, I want it to be like Vixen, or, like someone really crazy, I want it to be someone really crazy. Vixen would be really good. That would be the one that I would literally just be so happy to see. But this cameo is quite exciting. Who do you think who do you want it to be, and who do you think the cameo might be of in Zack Snyder's Justice League? I'm gonna say, if anyone wants to have a bet with me before, a friendly wager. Before the Zack Snyder movie comes out, or Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, as long as it isn't spoiled to us, I'm willing to wager. I don't think it's going to be Green Lantern. I think we'll see Green Lantern, but I don't think that's the guest that they're talking about. That isn't going to blow our minds. Everyone's expecting Green Lantern to show up somewhere. And I think we're either going to see a back profile of Green Lantern, or it's going to be knowing him, because he's probably going to want to plant as many seeds that will make it possible for he'd probably do a back profile of John Stewart or something like that, to get us really kind of excited for a Green Lantern kind of movie. So I think definitely Green Lantern is somebody that, it's possible. There's a potential there that it's Green Lantern, but I very, very much doubt that it will be Green Lantern. I think, that much more likely than that, Green Lantern is going to turn up, but he's going to turn up much more as a kind of back profile character, or somebody, I'm not quite sure, but I think he's going to turn up pretty early on in the movie. But I think he's going to be in there. Zack Snyder can't help himself. He's pure premature ejaculation. So he's going to get everyone in here. And I think Green Lantern's going to be in here. And I'd say John Stewart. I'd bet John Stewart, because I think because of the animated series, there are quite a lot of John Stewart fans. And I think he'd probably put John Stewart in there than Hal Jordan. Or maybe even both, because he just doesn't give a fuck. Like he would probably put both in at some point. So I that would be fun. I'd mark out most for Vixen. Vixen is the one. I've always thought Vixen is a better hero than people give her credit for, and I think she's got a compelling mythology that you can explore, kind of like Black Panther-esque, but different. And I really love a Vixen movie where she has to find her roots in Africa because there's some, weird curse or something that's going to come out, like magic being that's going to come out and destroy the world. I kind of thought of a little story with Vixen where she has a little brother who's first her villain, but then ends up being her ally, and his name is Totem. His superhero name is Totem, and he has similar kind of powers to Vixen, but he stayed in Africa, whereas Vixen was adopted in America. So I have this story like in me about it, and I'm actually using it for something else, where somebody has similar kind of powers to Vixen. But yeah, it's another story that I'm kind of writing that is very, very similar in that extent. But yeah, Vixen is the one I'd want. Then Green Lantern is the obvious one. I'd love to see someone like The Question, or somebody, another guest would be somebody from Justice League Dark, maybe. But really, who I think it is, I'll tell you, there's two people I think it might be. My absolute 100% first chance, being a psychoanalyst of Zack Snyder, I've gone into I've peered into the void that is Zack Snyder, and it stared back at me, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a Dark Knight Returns reference. He is a Batman fanboy through and fucking through. So my thing is, if he was thinking, what would be cool in this movie, as he usually says, it would be really cool to see in the movie, I think it's got to be Carrie Kelly from The Dark Knight Returns. And funnily enough, she's my favorite Robin. She's the only Robin I can stand. Like, she's cool, she's plucky, I don't know, she just works as a Robin. The rest of them, Dick Grayson, I don't know, man. I just don't like them. I really don't. That their relationship is, I've never liked any of them. Like, what's his name? Damian Wayne is trash. He's just an asshole emo kid. Dick Grayson, Nightwing, all of them. If I was making Batman movies, the only one I'd have a Robin in is if I did a Dark Knight Returns adaptation. I'd do like 2 movies, then I'd go on to a Dark Knight Returns adaptation, and then I'd put Carrie in. The rest of the Robins don't mean shit to me. They really don't. I do like a movie that where Robin develops into something else, and that is then my second, definitely what I would say my prediction for my second, in fact, the most likely person, if it isn't Carrie Kelly, the most likely person, even above her, to be in this, I reckon, is going to be Red Hood. I think Jason Todd, Red Hood, and you know how I said I don't like any Robins? I don't, but I do like Jason Todd, Red Hood. Like, for me, Robin is good when he's dead. I don't want to see him before he dies. Batman, finds his corpse. He's somehow brought back as Red Hood. That's how I like him, and I think Red Hood is a really cool character. When he turns into Red Hood, that's a good villain, especially if you add another villain like Joker or somebody else, like, as to balance it out, as good villains for him to face. So that's my prediction on who I think the character that I think is going to be most likely. Most likely cameo in the Zack Snyder Justice League. Tell me who you think will cameo in the Justice League movie. I'd love to know. But apart from that, thanks so much. Please Smash the like button, give me a high five, do comment down below. There are videos on the left in the playlist, or I will put links to the videos about the Vanity Fair article. And love you 3000. Bye. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. And today I will be reacting to my favorite Zack Snyder scene. It's a Zack Snyder scene I pretty much love, and I'm going to be reacting to it because I'm fed up of being nasty to Zack Snyder when I think that he does actually make some good movies that are, they're not underrated, but I would say that they're unfairly criticized by certain parties. I'd put it that way. But I wanted to celebrate just one of my favorite scenes. And one of the things that, might surprise people is that I actually like Zack Snyder's Lex Luthor. I like his take on Lex Luthor. It was one of my favorite things in the movies. And I've always wanted to do something on this scene because I think the writing is very, very clever here. So the writing is really good. Now, there's another thing. Would I have cast Jesse Eisenberg? I don't think it's worth the trouble casting Jesse Eisenberg. I don't know what Zack Snyder was thinking casting Jesse Eisenberg. I think Jesse Eisenberg ended up doing a pretty damn good job of a character that you ultimately hate and you want to punch, you want to sock him in the nose because he's so hateable. He's like the Joffrey Baratheon of the DCEU. It's like people confuse the fact that he is so irritating with the fact that he's a bad villain. Villains are sometimes supposed to be irritating. And this idea that Lex Luthor is supposed to be an older man or something like that is bullshit. Lex Luthor has been all kinds of ages in the comics of Superman. People don't read enough Superman comics. Much of the time, Lex Luthor is actually exactly the same age as Superman and is quite young, like Henry Cavill. I don't know that they've done many versions where he's a younger millennial, but I think that makes sense. And I think a really douchey millennial genius scientist is what they were going for, who happens to be a psychopath and is obsessed with Superman. I think that's what they were going for. And he's a narcissist like Lex Luthor, which is one of Luthor's biggest traits is his narcissism. So this scene, which was written by the guy who wrote Batman v Superman, I actually think he saved this movie from being a complete horror show, because Batman Begins writer and I'm gonna have to David Goyer. Basically, David Goyer is the guy who wrote Batman Begins, who wrote Blade, a lot of the Blade trilogy, who wrote Ghost Rider. Is a very, very hit and miss writer with very good ideas but very poor execution sometimes, which is what I've been trying to tell people about the Man of Steel script for a long time. There are things that are great about Man of Steel, but the script is not one of them. This script is interesting because it's a bad script that has been written over or rewritten by a good writer, basically. And I think he does really well. And I've heard that he's a really, really clever guy, very, very knowledgeable, and you can tell. And one of the things I wanted to really look and interpret this scene with you guys, because I think it's one of the most underrated scenes in all of DC movie history. Basically, it's the scene on the helipad where Lex Luthor confronts both Lois Lane and then confronts Superman. So I'm going to break down why I love this scene so particularly, and then we'll talk about it. So.
Boy, do we have problems up here. The problem.
So the first thing that Lex Luthor says, which is really great, is he and this is something he does throughout the film that people don't really notice, is he speaks in ways where there's a lot of subtext. I think people only take text from what Lex Luthor is saying rather than the subtext of what he's saying, right? Everything he says is like a pun. It's like he means three things at the same time, which is what a genius would do. So this film doesn't bang you over the head that Lex Luthor is a genius. It just shows you in the way he talks about things. And yes, he is crazy, but I think he's not crazy in a Joker way. He's crazy in the sense that he's been driven insane by how intelligent he is. This guy's IQ is clearly off the charts. He's got like a fucking 300, something IQ where his thoughts are just racing at such a manic rate that he can barely get them out in speech. And I think that's the Lex Luthor they were going for. And I think that makes sense as an update to the character. So when he says, boy, do we have problems up here, he's not just using that phrase, but he means up here as in Superman above us. Superman is, boy, do we have problems up here. And then he continues.
We have problems here.
And to be fair, I don't even understand all of the references in this scene. There are certain references in this scene that that are even above my head. So I'm not trying to pretend to be smarter than everyone. But like there's really clever wordplay that Lex Luthor uses in this scene.
The problem of evil in the world. The problem of absolute virtue.
I'll take you in without breaking you, which is more than you deserve.
The problem of you on top of everything else. You above.
I mean, this is so clever. So first of all, he's giving you the reason why he's why he wants Superman dead. I don't know why he sends Batman after him. I don't know why he gives him the kryptonite or sets all of that up. I guess because the movie is called Batman v Superman. Lex Luthor's plan, it's doable. It's doable. It's usable. I mean, if you look at the complexity of Lex Luthor's plan, and then you compare that to the complexity of the Joker's plan in The Dark Knight, I don't see why people give Lex Luthor's plan so much of a hard time, but they don't give and relies on a lot of coincidences, much like Lex Luthor's plan. But the whole point of the story and what it's trying to get at with Lex Luthor is he's like 8 steps ahead of everyone else because he's so fucking smart. He really is. And this is the first time I've seen in a Superman movie where I really see Lex Luthor as somebody who could genuinely take Superman down with his intelligence. That he's so on top of it that he really can take him down with his intellect. Now, should he have raised Doomsday from the dead like he did, like later on in the movie? Absolutely not. That was fucking stupid. That should have been Parasite. That would have been so much better if it was Parasite or Metallo. They could have got the guy with the legs chopped off or whatever who blows himself up in the Senate. Get him to be fucking Metallo. That would have made sense. Like Lex Luthor finds technology in the ship that allows him to create a robot, Metallo, and take on Superman, Wonder Woman, and all of those guys. Or even better, I would have said, turn him into Parasite. So Doomsday was a dumb idea. Killing off Superman was a dumb idea. They could have left Superman. You know what they could have done as a cliffhanger? Superman could have run into Parasite. Parasite sucks all the energy out of Superman, and then but Superman does whatever is needed to do to defeat him, and then you end the movie where you don't know if Superman's dead or not, and that could have surfaced as a similar thing. But nonetheless, up until this helipad scene, and Lex Luthor is a very compelling villain to me. Now, look at what he says here. The problem of you on top of everything else, right? So he's saying about Superman as a god flying above literally being above everyone else, but also being above them, like, I suppose, morally as well. You above all, because he's talking about him as the ultimate virtuous man. And again, here's the problem with BVS. Superman isn't ultimately virtuous. And if he was, then this speech would have a lot more weight, carry a lot more weight. But actually, Superman's kind of morose. He's a bit of an emo. He's not the virtuous Superman that we know. He's killed somebody already in the movie, or at least it looks like he's killed somebody. So when he says the problem, he's using a lot of things in two different ways, like the problem of you on top of everything else. So that's a common phrase that we use, the problem of you on top of everyone else, and you above all is another phrase. But again, the double meaning of that is actually literally Superman flying above everyone else. And he has a problem with that. He's so narcissistic. He can't deal with a being that is so clearly superior to him. It doesn't compute for him that with his intellect, that he doesn't have the power that Superman has, that anything can be more powerful than his intellect and what he can do with his intellect, which is another reason why everything I like about the movie, I have to criticize about the movie a bit. Lex Luthor should have been a self-made man. He should not have been granted his company by his father. He should have been a self-made Lex Luthor. Like, if you want to do a Mark Zuckerberg Facebook genius, billionaire, like a modern day billionaire, then what you need to do is like go there and say this is a .com tech millionaire who's designed, like, make him a cross between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk or something like that, like the two of them combined together. Where he's some tech giant creating like all the newest technologies in the city of tomorrow, Metropolis, and he made his money himself because he's such a genius. Then again, all of this sense of his superiority over people, that he's and it would make sense as his enmity towards Batman or Bruce Wayne, who is just born into wealth. Here's a guy who made it by himself, and that would have made a lot more sense. But anyway, well, this would have made more sense. But I love the dialogue in this. So,
above all, because that's what God is. Horus, Apollo, Jehovah, Kal-El, Clark, Joseph, Kent.
I love this, but I'm not sure how I feel about him knowing who Superman is. It's cool, and it is shocking to show how clever he is, but I think there could have been another way of him showing how clever he is. Maybe if he said son of Jor-El, so he's showing that he's getting closer to Superman's identity, like rather than just being like, oh, it's Clark Kent. Like, it's like, dude, if he knows you're Clark Kent, then why doesn't he just tell everyone? That would destroy Superman quicker than anything if he just tells people who Superman is, right? But anyway, see, what we call God depends upon our tribe, Clark Joe. See, that's a clever version, right? That's a clever thing.
What we call God depends upon our tribe, Clark Joe. Because God is tribal. God, no man in the sky intervened when I was a boy to deliver me from daddy's fist and abominations.
Right. So Well, again, I can see why people find Jesse Eisenberg a little bit annoying in this with his and stuff like that. But I think what he's going for is somebody whose mind is so quick. He's almost got a slightly autistic side to him. He doesn't know how to socially, he's he's too above everyone else intellectually to even socially integrate properly. And that does make sense because I've met a lot of people with incredibly high IQs, geniuses, really clever, smart people, and they are often like that. So it would make sense that Lex Luthor is a bit like that as well, a bit withdrawn, a bit of an inability to really, his imagination, his mind is pumping with ideas the whole time that he's speaking to someone, ideas that could change the world, change technology, change humanity forever. And he has to come down and like talk to normal people when all of this stuff is going on in his head. I think this takes Lex Luthor away from just being simply a cartoon character and realistically looks like what a modern day tech billionaire, IQ above 180 would actually look like, an IQ of 200, like the highest IQ in the world, right? This is what somebody like that would look like. Now, my casting choice would have been very, very different. You know who I would have cast? I'll show you who I would have cast, since we're breaking this down. This is who I would have cast, or this type of person, and this is how I would have presented what Zack Snyder was actually trying to do. So let's go into this. Oh. Oh. Ex Machina, sorry. This is the guy I would have chosen, like, or somebody like character. If you've ever seen the Ex Machina,
cats, smart enough to get their claws into your will, but not smart enough to clean their own teeth.
I don't know anyone who's seen the film Ex Machina. This is my Lex Luthor. In my mind, this is Lex Luthor.
Take your time, read it over.
This guy.
The signee agrees to regular data audit. In public or private forums, using any means of communication, including...
I wish he had watched this movie
which
instead of The Social Network.
Or in written or electronic form. I think I need a lawyer. It doesn't feel very standard.
So, do you know what Turing test is?
Yeah, I know what the Turing test is.
Wait, there's a bit that he...
It's when a human interacts with a computer. And if the human doesn't know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
And what does it pass though?
That the computer has artificial intelligence. Are you building an AI?
I've already built one. And over the next few...
Where is it? I'm going to have to edit this. Yeah, this guy. This is the genius kind of millennial entitled prick that I think Lex Luthor should be.
She's fascinating. When you talk to her, you're just through the looking glass.
Through the looking glass, wow. You're good with words, Caleb. You're quotable.
Actually, that's someone else's quote.
You know, I wrote down that other line you came up with. The one about how if I've invented a machine with consciousness, I'm not a man, I'm God.
I don't think that's exactly.
I just thought, fuck, man, that is so good when we get to tell the story, you know? I turned to Caleb, and he looked up at me and he said, you're not a man, you're God.
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
So, anyway.
Do you see what I mean? Like, this guy could have done this, like a Lex Luthor that really carried the weight and gravitas of what Lex Luthor is. People see Lex Luthor as. He looks good bald as well, but at the same time done a young, you know, more updated version of the character. So anyway, going back to this scene,
I figured out way back. God is all powerful. He cannot be all good. If he is all good, then he cannot be all powerful.
so this is Lex Luthor basically setting up the challenge of his motivation, which is kind of an existential, kind of more esoteric motivation than Lex Luthor usually has. But Lex Luthor has always kind of been like that as well, you know. And if he's all good, then he can't be all powerful, and if he's all powerful, then he can't be all good, right? Like, he's talking about God, and he's saying that he does not trust Superman, or I don't even think he does. It's not even about trust. He hates Superman because he sees the utter contradiction in Superman. Again, this Superman would have been much more powerful, and this speech much more powerful, if you had a proper Superman. If you had a Superman who was virtuous. He doesn't have to be going around, but like somebody, you know, who when he saves the girl in Mexico, you see that he's a hero, and he comes down and he smiles at the people, and they're all worshipping him as a god, but he's trying to smile and say, no, I'm just a human like you. I'm just a good guy who wants to help people. That would have been the kind of Superman where this speech really, really hit home and made sense. And obviously, Jesse Eisenberg, I get it. He's a bit annoying, right? Like as a casting choice for this, but I think he's supposed to be irritating, annoying, somebody that we hate. And somebody, you know, people hate, you know, everyone does. When you meet somebody who's just clearly very, very smart, really, really intelligent, like, it's hard for your ego to really deal with that. So I think that this Lex Luthor triggers that in people, because he's somebody who clearly is very smart. And it's hard for you to deal with the fact that this guy's so much more intelligent than probably you. Sorry. Probably me, you know. And so, you know, you just want to hate him, because it's like, I can't deal with the idea of somebody more, you know, intelligent than me in the world, and who shows it off, you know, in such a hateful kind of an ostentatious way. Like, the way he shows off the prowess of his intellect is in a way that is very unbecoming, you know. Be a little bit. People like clever people who are who have a little bit of humility, but this guy doesn't, you know. So and he's not particularly attractive either, so, you know, in the classical kind of good-looking way. So again, all of that is quite annoying. And I wish Jesse Eisenberg, you know, even if he had have just toned it down enough to just do a similar performance than the one he did in The Social Network, you would have got all of those sides of the autistic and all of this kind of aspects of Jesse Eisenberg, you know, all of the aspects that this Lex Luthor is trying to bring out, but without like people being so annoyed by the performance. But again, and if he is all good, then he cannot be all powerful. So this is a very philosophical argument about the problem of evil, right? That he's stating. That Superman represents that problem to him. That, look, this guy, if he's all good, then he could change the world. If he's all good, and is a god, right? And he's so powerful, then he could change the world so everything's better. But he doesn't. He didn't save. You didn't save me from my dad or anything like that. So you can't be all powerful, right? If you're all good, you can't be all powerful, because if you were all good, if you're a virtuous man who was all powerful, then you would stop all the horrible things in the world from happening. But if you're, what's more terrifying is then if you're all powerful, and then, as he says,
cannot be all powerful, and not can you be. He cannot be all powerful. All good. He cannot be all good.
if God is all powerful, he cannot be all good, right? And if he is all powerful, and if he
cannot be all good,
right? So either Henry Cavill is all powerful, and then but he's flawed. Sorry, Superman is all powerful, but then he's flawed. And if he's flawed and he's all powerful, if he can make mistakes, if he's got elements of darkness in him, then he's really dangerous. And that's what Lex Luthor's kind of trying to bring out. I don't think Lex Luthor particularly cares about that aspect of the hypocrisy or contradiction of Superman. I don't think he cares. I think he'd like a Superman who is more corrupt, but it's having a virtuous Superman that really, really bothers him. So he's trying to prove something.
He's all good, and he cannot be all powerful.
Now, obviously, one thing that you can say about all of this is like this is more Snyder dealing with this theological universe kind of nonsense, and maybe, but at least it was going for something a bit more interesting than your typical villain in these movies, and trying to come up with existential philosophical questions as to about the nature of Superman's existence. Again, would have been better if Superman was in the movie, because then all of this would have been a lot more meaningful.
And neither can you be. They need to see the fraud you are with their eyes. The blood on your hands. Where you gone tonight?
The blood on your hands. So the blood on Superman's hands, basically, and he's going to set Superman up. And what he's been doing constantly is setting Superman up by showing, look, this guy is all powerful, but bad things still happen, even when he's right there. So he's letting those things happen. Like when the Senate explodes, it's basically Lex Luthor saying, look, he's completely indifferent, right? Like he could have saved these people. I think it would have been much better if that scene would have been so much better if Superman had have saved the people rather than everybody die. I get it that it was kind of a cruel scene to let the whole Senate explode, but like he could have let part of it explode, but not everything. If he had have saved that situation somehow, again, this speech would have made more sense. It's always good for the bad guy, to have as many obstacles as the hero. Like you need to put obstacles in. Like this Lex Luthor is constantly winning. Every step of the way he's winning, and every step of the way Superman's losing. So there's no balance of Superman comes up, then Lex Luthor gets him back, then Superman comes up. If you look at the Dark Knight, it's a balance. Batman gets Joker. Joker gets Batman. Like it keeps going up and down and up and down. Who's in a position of power at which point, right? In this one, Lex Luthor is way always in a position of power over everyone, and that's kind of like, nah. You need a little bit of balance. At least one of his plans needed to have been thwarted by Superman, not by Batman, by Superman. He's a Superman villain. So, and tonight they will. Yes, because you, my friend, have a date.
They will. Yes. Because you, my friend, have a date. Across the bay. Grapefruit his hate. 2 years growing, but it did not take much to push him over, actually. Little red nose. Big bang, you let your family die!
See, like I love the way Henry Cavill is looking at him, thinking he's this is a typical Henry Cavill face. Such a good-looking man that he's got a great scowl, hasn't he? So here in this scene, Superman looks back at him. I even like this dialogue here because he's basically saying what he's been doing, but he's so manically crazy. It's like he's not crazy, as I said, in a Joker kind of sense. He's crazy in a sense that he's so intelligent and so kind of autistic in a way that he doesn't understand that people don't know what he's talking about. Like Little Red Notes, Big Bang, you let your family die. He's talking about obviously Little Red Notes, the Little Red Notes he's been sending him. The Big Bang was at the Senate, and then you let your family die, which was basically, I don't know how Lex Luthor knows this, but you let your family die was basically the note that he sent to Bruce Wayne, which has got him angrier and angrier with Superman. He's been setting up this feud between him and Superman, which I don't think should have been Lex Luthor's plan. I think Lex Luthor's plan purely should have been, I want to kill Superman, right? And I think Batman should have just stolen the kryptonite, just straight up stolen it. It's nothing to do with Lex Luthor planning any shit. It's just he stole the kryptonite. And I think that that would have been better. That would have been better. I don't know how then you would have had to have Superman face Batman somehow. I don't know how. But if that would have been a more organic way than Luthor having planned for these two guys to fight. I don't get that. I don't get, what did Luthor think was going to happen? Batman isn't exactly going to beat Superman just because he has a bit of kryptonite. It's not. It doesn't work like that. This guy could just fly in the air and laser Batman from the air. Like, so it's not a particularly brilliant plan by him. So yeah, anyway, let's go. I still like this speech though. So you let your family die.
You let your family die! And now, you will fly to him. And you will battle him. To the death. Black and blue. Fight night. The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. God versus man. Day versus night.
That should really say it all to you, shouldn't it, Lex Luthor, that this plan isn't very good? God versus man? God versus man, yeah? It's not a very good idea.
Krypton versus Bat of Gotham.
You think I'll fight him for you?
Yes, I do. I think you will fight for that special lady in your life.
She's safe on the ground. How about you?
Close, but I am not talking about Lois. No, every boy's special lady is his mother. Martha. The mother of a flying demon must be a witch.
It's obviously reference to the Salem witch trials and the punishment for witches. What is it? Death by fire. So he's threatening to leave her in flames.
That's right. Death by fire. I don't know. I would not let them tell me. Now, if you kill me, Martha dies. And if you fly away, Martha also dies. But if you kill the bat, Martha lives.
Why does he want... I'm starting to see why people don't like this scene. Why does he want Why does he want Superman to kill Batman? What will he gain from Superman killing Batman? I don't know. Because it's like he's trying to do it so he'll win either way, but he's not going to gain anything by Superman killing Batman. Anyway, so yeah.
There we go. And now God bends to my will. Now the cameras are ready your ship for the world to see the holes in the holy. Yes, the Almighty comes clean about how dirty he is when it counts. To save Martha, bring me the head of the bat.
Oh, that's the reason I like this as well. Mother of God. Would you look at the time? So Mother of God is again the references to Martha Kent being the Mother of God. And then would you look at the time? But again, it's kind of like it's I like the performance. I still like the kind of speech. But again, you're kind of like, why are you? That doesn't really hang together as well. Like, so you want Batman? I don't get it. So he wants Batman. He wants Superman to kill Batman so he can show the world that Superman is not the good person that he says he is. But do people even know who Batman is? And isn't Batman been going around killing loads of people? So if Superman brings him to justice, it's kind of like, did he really do something wrong? I mean, he's already killed a terrorist. He's killed Zod. So you've already shown that he's impure or imperfect or isn't that. So again, the virtuous Superman would have made this a lot more make sense, that that Lex Luthor's trying to show that Superman actually is corrupt. And I think, this is Zack Snyder being really influenced again by The Dark Knight, because that was what he's such a that was what Chris Nolan was trying to do in The Dark Knight. The Joker was trying to show that Batman can be corrupted effectively, and Batman proves that he can't be corrupted because he doesn't kill. But like, that makes sense because Batman hasn't been corrupted before. He hasn't killed anybody up until then, so he hasn't broken his rules. So if the Joker can get Batman to break his rules, then he would have won. In this one, Superman's already broken the rules that make him Superman, so he's already shown to be corrupt. He doesn't need to be shown to be any more corrupt. He just needs to go back and find, images of Superman executing terrorists or whoever else Superman has decided to just unilaterally go in and execute. So again, a real Superman would have made this movie better.
Would you look at the time? When you came here, you had an hour.
And I do like the Lex Luthor music, which is great. So the other part of this scene, which is I think the superior part is Lois on the helipad, where he really does a lot of the references that that I was talking about. Ooh, no. Okay. Okay, suddenly the Lois Lane scene isn't. Here we go. Superman saves Lois. So
now streaming. I'm not supposed to be here. Can you help me get back?
Why? Earth is boring.
You're missing out on the joys of...
Lay low in the morning. Lola in slacks.
So this is the beginning, Lola in slacks. That's basically the beginning of Lolita, the book, the novel Lolita. So again, it's showing off Lex Luthor's intelligence when it comes to, you know, his knowledge of culture and science and whatever. So this is a very famous book by Nabokov called Lolita, and it's really one of the most famous lines in book history. You know, like one of the most famous opening lines in literary history, essentially. So, you know, it's a little reference, like if you notice it.
Come see the view. Now the secret, the height, is the building material. It's light metals, which sway a bit in the wind. I knew something about Lexicor metals touching this thing.
I've proven what you've done.
Oh, you're feisty.
See, this is so much better than how Superman responds to him. There's no back and forth between him and Superman. With Lois Lane, you know, whatever you want to say about Amy Adams, I thought she did a more decent performance in this than in A Man of Steel, where she was just a damsel in distress. Here, she's actually investigating stuff. She found the bullet. It's a bit of a weird, circuitous, you know, it's a weird, circuitous, you know, side plot or B plot. But nonetheless, she's doing something. She's very active, and she's sassy in this. She's much more sassy. She's the Lois Lane we know, and she talks back to Lex Luthor. She has that back and forth with Lex Luthor that you know from the comics.
Unfortunately, that will blow away like sand in the desert.
You're psychotic.
That is a 3-syllable word for any thought, too.
Like sand in the desert, right? Like, so the evidence he's saying will blow away like sand in the desert against his guilt. Essentially, you know, in the beginning of BVS, there's the whole scene with in the desert where you find out that Lex Luthor plotted the deaths of a bunch of terrorists because, again, why he's setting up like America's gonna give a shit about a bunch of terrorists in like fucking the Sudan or whatever. It doesn't make sense. He should have if he was gonna do something, he should have set Superman up on American soil, or set Superman up so it looks like he did something on an American base that led to the mass deaths of American civilians or American soldiers. That would have been made much more sense than a bunch of terrorists. Whatever.
Too big for little minds. Next category, circle. Euclid's triangle inequality. The shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight path.
So again, obviously, you know, the reference here. Again, it's just his mind is filled with so much information that he's always kind of referencing these things where there's a kind of double meaning to it. And then you can see, again, so he knows that Superman is always going to save Lois Lane. And he obviously, I like that line, like a pretty little road called Lois Lane. It's a very clever little pun and play on words. So anyway, that's my reaction to the helipad scene. Actually, watching it again, because I haven't seen it. I saw it, I guess, relatively recently. But now watching it and talking over it again, you know, it's hard for me to say this, but I do see the problems with it, and I see the problems with Jesse Eisenberg as well. I would have so much preferred somebody like this, exactly like this. He could have looked exactly like this playing Lex Luthor.
You're impressed. Yes. Although there's a qualification to you being impressed?
No, there's no qualification to her. It's just in a Turing test. The machine should be hidden from the examiner.
No, we're way past that. If I hid Ava from you so you just heard her voice, she would pass the human. The real test is to show you that she's a robot and then see if you still feel she has.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Her language abilities, they're incredible. The system is stochastic, right? Non-deterministic. At first, I thought she was mapping from internal semantic form to syntactic pre-structure and then getting linearized words. But then I started to realize the model is some kind of hybrid.
Caleb,
No?
I understand that you want me to explain how it works, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Try me. I'm hot on high-level abstraction.
It's not because I think you're too dumb. Because I want to have a beer and a conversation with you at a seminar.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. All right. Just answer me this. How do you feel about it? Nothing analytical. Just how do you feel?
Right. So again, it's a much more subdued performance. This guy does go crazy and nuts and shows that he's completely evil and manipulative, and it's everything I've wanted from a modern day Lex Luthor. Is if you've ever seen Ex Machina, tell me, guys, what do you think? Do you think I'm right here that that this would have been a much better version? An actor who could have done something like this would have been a much better version of Lex Luthor. Come straight out with the bald hair, the big millennial type beard that's cool these days, a billionaire kind of like Elon Musk tech billionaire who made it himself. He didn't he didn't rely on his father's wealth or something like that. He made it himself. He's just a genius with like a 210 IQ and literally the smartest man on the planet. And he still could have, been the young millennial, and he still could have said these speeches, but he could have been a little bit more subdued than Jesse Eisenberg. So that's me, my analysis of the scenes by like the Batman v Superman scene, one of my favorite scenes in DCEU. It has its flaws. I can see its problems as I'm looking at it and watching it now. But I still, for the most part, I don't think Lex Luthor is a bigger problem apart from the casting. I don't think the concept of this Lex Luthor, and I don't think the dialogue of this Lex Luthor is particularly bad. I just think the delivery needed something, and some of the story beats and how his plan worked out needed a bit more threading in a way that made sense. So that's me. Thanks so much. Have a good one. And I love you 3000. Please smash the like button, give me a high five, and comment and subscribe for more content. Thanks so much. Bye.